Welcome to the InsurTech Story podcast. This is episode 1 discussing on InsurTech envisioning the future of insurance.
Okay, a very good afternoon and good morning to everyone to the first episode of InsurTech Story podcast. So InsurTech Story is an initiative focused on creating a better and more profound InsurTech community by sharing knowledge and bringing professionals from India and around the globe. So a huge welcome to everyone watching this. Today we have a special guest with us, Mr. Victor Broadman. Victor is the head of insurance for EMEA and APAC at R3, where he leads the digital transformation initiatives supporting business achieve their strategic goals and return on investment. To give a brief, R3 is an enterprise blockchain software firm working with a broad ecosystem of more than 300 members and partners across multiple industries from both the private and public sectors to develop on Corda, that is its open source blockchain platform, and also the Corda Enterprise, which is a commercial version of Corda for enterprise usage. Prior to R3, Victor served as the strategy and corporate development leader at Swiss Re, building a multinational business spanning over 150 countries, including design, development, and implementation of leading digital engagement platform for customers. So welcome, Victor, and thanks for your time this afternoon and morning at your end. To introduce myself, I am Surya Saha, your host for the day and the author of The Digital Choices, a book written for the emerging crowd who wants to take the leap towards the digital transformation journey. Professionally, I'm in the risk management field with more than 8 years of experience with a deep interest in insurtech and enterprise blockchain. With this, we will kick off with our show today with Victor Broadman. So, Victor, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic, thank you. Yes, very good indeed, and very pleased to be on your video call here. So thank you for inviting me.
Thanks, Victor. Glad to have you. So just to give you a brief, insurance as a global industry with $4 trillion US dollar in total premiums per year is a complex business, as we know, and that involves some sort of sophisticated risk pricing, large capital requirements, and stringent regulations. So high barriers to entry and a relative, long payback period make the business a rather unpopular choice for new entrants. So unlike in many other industries, the internet has so far resulted in little disruption to the insurance industry. But for many insurers, business models have remained largely the same during the past 30 years. There's some sort of a risk-averse nature to adopt to new things that we are witnessing. So, there are tons of work that needs to be done, and some are already in progress. And even though the industry is mature, there are significant opportunities for growth, especially when we witness many areas of the world, still remain as underinsured. So opportunities are huge, but there is some sort of resistance from the industry as well as the nature how it was since its inception. So with this, Victor, my first question to you is, what, according to you, are the most disruptive forces of insurance in 2020 and the years to come? And why do you think so?
So, of course, we're in a current situation which is forcing us to rethink our approach to serving our customers and offering insurance products. The whole COVID pandemic, of course, which is really, it's in the past we've had the incentive to improve our business models and reduce costs, for example, because of insurance premiums coming down. And the margins being slimmer and customer expectations being higher. Those have been what we call the incentive to change. But now we've got that was the carrot. Now we've got the stick of that change coming through. We are now forced we are now forced to work at home, for example, under lockdown conditions. The economy is now being adjusted. People perhaps in the future won't work in offices as much. So that we've one of the biggest disruptive forces is just the environment that we're in right now. And of course, it's very pertinent, the actions that have to be taken right now. But in a longer term, the disruptive forces are probably going to be coming from customer expectations. And what I really mean by that is that you and I probably use online ordering services where they're extremely quick to be responsive. They're extremely informative as to where your products are at any point in the journey before they arrive on your doorstep. And your expectations are very high around the responsiveness of those suppliers to you. And I'm talking about online ordering here, for example, Amazon or others, where you can get goods delivered to your door the same day, right? And along that entire journey, you can see exactly where those goods are. How have they left the distribution center? Are they in the van on the way to my house? How many minutes away from my house is that van? And my expectations as a consumer are now set really high because of the general experience I have in my life elsewhere. The software that I use on my computer, the iPhone that I use, real-time information at the touch of a fingertip. And those sort of consumer expectations are translating to how insurers need to serve their customers as well. The insurers' customers expect a very high customer service. They don't want to have to write a letter or send a fax to make a claim. They want to tap away on their mobile phone app, have the claim registered, and hopefully have the claim paid out very, very quickly. So consumer expectations are really driving a lot of change in the industry as well as obviously the current pandemic. Now, when we come to technology, that's also helping to drive transformation in the industry as well. So, of course, there's lots of advantages you can have with other technologies like AI or RPA or others that help drive consumer outcomes or save expenses for organizations. But of course, blockchain, which is what R3 is a provider of blockchain technology, is a fundamental component of a digital transformation strategy. It's not a technology that you deploy in one particular area. As you rightly said, it's enterprise technology. It is end-to-end across an organization and indeed across the industry, and can help drive transformation in terms of data provenance, data quality, data immutability, and being a single source of the truth of data from the consumer, the end buyer of the insurance, all the way through the broker, the insurer, the reinsurer, the third-party players that there may be. For example, if there's a third-party claims handler or loss adjuster or lawyer, whichever it might be, or risk engineer that might be involved in that insurance value chain. But then also people like regulators having access to the single source of the truth, which is immutable and auditable and instantaneous across the entire value chain, only shared with the people that need to know that information. So it's not broadcast across the entire globe. It's actually only shared instantaneously with the people that need to know in that value chain. So those are some of the drivers of transformation in our industry.
Right. So Victor, considering these points which you have just spoken about, what do you think are the opportunities for incumbent insurers in this scenario? I mean, are they doing enough?
So some of the opportunities, what are insurers looking for at the moment? They're looking for improved customer experience, retaining customers and acquiring customers. So they need to make sure that their distribution channels and their customer services are top notch. So opportunities to improve that and make sure that they keep the customers that they have. Then, of course, opportunities around the reducing the expenses and the high cost of process business. And that should culminate in being able to redeploy people to more high value tasks, perhaps more on the customer service side or wherever that might be. And then finally, around new products. So there's a huge potential for new products to come to market to service customers. And here we can talk about micro insurance, which is becomes hugely available to underinsured or uninsured areas of the globe or people in the world because of the efficiencies gained in distributing and administering business. You can literally enable micro insurance, for example, life insurance for $5 a day that only costs 50 cents to process. If you speak to a life insurer and they're talking tens of dollars, if not hundreds of dollars to process business currently, well, with blockchain technology, you can get that down to literally 50 cents. That means insurance becomes much more affordable and accessible to many people that perhaps don't currently have access to it. And then parametric insurance, again, is another example of new products that are enabled by this technology. It becomes much more efficient, affordable, and quicker to process with blockchain technology. So those are the three areas where there are big opportunities for existing insurance companies. But they have to have the right digital transformation model and mix of technologies in there as well. So blockchain isn't the only technology. It is a common thread of technology across the entire value chain, every part of the organization. It's the trust layer of data, the thread of data across. And on top of that, insurers would, of course, plug other technologies. We've mentioned a couple of them, the RPA, the AI, etc., augmented reality perhaps as well when assessing claims. So there are many opportunities for insurers, but they have to have the right mix of technologies, deploy those in the right way, and also have a desire to improve their technology and achieve those goals. So.
Right. Yeah. Parametering is something. It's a very good example from a blockchain context. So that's something I think the industry is already looking at. So yeah. And Victor, since you've discussed a brief on the blockchain application part, so if I would like to move on little specifics here, we see that the application of blockchain technologies, especially the digital ledger of transactions, and the concept of smart contracts that can be applied to insurance policies. So, what, according to you, are the key areas to look at when we try to apply blockchain, for example, in the claims process, with the motive to significantly increase the efficiency in the process, as well as to reduce fraudulent claims, basically?
That's right. That's a very good question, actually. We're actually working at the moment on a fraud solution that helps share relevant information around fraudulent claims in a way that doesn't share the personally identifiable information. So a GDPR, which is the data protection regulations, a GDPR compliant way to share claimant information and claims information with counterparties in the insurance world, so other insurers, without sharing the underlying data itself, meaning that we're not breaking and we're actually being more compliant with GDPR regulations, and detecting fraud in a much more consistent way. Fraud's a huge problem, as you can imagine. Hundreds of millions of dollars spent on lost to fraud, not just the claimants, undetected fraud, but also the cost of assessing, identifying, and investigating that. And blockchain technology can help that significantly. And that's an active project we're working on at the moment and getting insurers involved in. So that's one of the examples, but there are many others as well. You take the smart contract use in perhaps endorsement to a particular policy. So if you talk in one example again is the marine business. So one of the customers using our enterprise blockchain technology is in the marine space, and they structure and place a large program of marine insurance, so we're talking 700 vessels plus, they can structure that in a matter of minutes and place it into the insurance market. Up to 50 insurers that might take a portion or a slice or an element of that overall insurance program. They've condensed that down from it used to take a matter of months, and now it can take a matter of minutes. So they've literally gone from months to minutes to structure in place the program of insurance, which is a fantastic time saving and ends up in a very successful customer outcome. But what they're also doing is bringing in Internet of Things, sensors and satellite imagery and satellite tracking to activate a smart contract. So what happens is that vessel or one of the vessels in that fleet, for example, goes into a war zone, which then has an uptick in the premium associated with it. So what happens then from a process point of view is that an endorsement is automatically triggered, an uptick in the premium is automatically sent, and what can happen is because the technology also can connect to the bank account, is literally that the invoice is raised for that uptick in premium, and money is moved in the bank account instantaneously and immutably. So there's the use of smart contracts is a fantastic thing, and growing in its use.
Right. Yeah, I think marine insurance, as you mentioned, it's one of it's like notoriously complex one for the entire industry, whichever products they are in as of now. So, and the example that I've given, I have come across this, which is available in the open source as well. So, this particular company is through blockchain, trying to help marine companies, sailors to, as you said, when they're sailing to a war zone, for example. So the algorithms are set in such a way that it recalculates the policy amount from the one that has been purchased for in the earlier stage. I think the model works like that. So it's definitely going to be useful. And, from months to minutes, and for a marine insurance, it's going to be a groundbreaking stuff for the entire industry. And there's a lot of savings out there as well. So
absolutely, and that's on a big scale. That's on on big specialty insurance, but even on small transactions, your smart contracts could, for example, when your goods have been delivered and scanned into your warehouse, payment is triggered back to the supplier, for example, automatically. So it creates a huge amount of efficiency. You no longer have to have paperwork floating around and then stamped by the delivery manager and then passed to the invoicing team for processing. And you eliminate a huge amount of that administration. You eliminate a huge amount of the reconciliation work that goes on around that as well. And you just drive tremendous efficiency across the entire value chain. So it has a lot of potential for sure.
Absolutely. Another quite good example that I would like to highlight is that Allianz has recently rolled out their AI-based insurance claims management system. So it's more of an end-to-end solution for stage 3 claims process. So ideally, what they're trying to do here is by using AI technology, of course, with a couple of other partners, they're trying to deliver an automated end-to-end solution for claims handlers as they continuously, look for ways to advise claims proposition and make some enhancement for the customers. The entire procedures, including some legal proceedings and etc., comes just in under one umbrella, and the processing is just as quick as it can be. So some of the very exciting things that's happening in the market.
Absolutely, and we're seeing lots of different technologies around claims as well. So we've seen augmented reality technologies as well, helping claims adjusters remotely assess a claim. For example, in the auto industry, there's a crash in a car. The owner of that vehicle can just take a video effectively of the damage, right. And the augmented reality lays images over that and assesses sort of where the damage might be, and the artificial intelligence element can then start to assess the extent of that damage and then the value of that damage, and then provide the claims handler in almost real time an estimate of the damage that type of incident in that type of situation to that vehicle with that damage is going to be costing. Which when the technology matures and it becomes more reliable, because obviously it's still fairly early days in some of this, can then avoid a loss adjuster and a loss assessor having to go out and look at that vehicle in person, effectively. So these sorts of technologies are coming to fruition, and they are really, really cool and really sexy technology, quite frankly, that can again help customer outcomes, save costs for insurance companies.
Absolutely. All these, whatever innovations are happening in the insurance industry, it's also down the line would change the perception towards insurance. Globally, the perception what the market has towards the insurance industry, it's not quite favorable to the growth that we perceive to be. Yeah. So I think all these innovations are bound to do it, but only the challenge remains is the timeline. How long will it take?
That's right. A few people wake up in the morning and think, oh, I want to go out and buy insurance today. That's not really what happens. Obviously, people buy it as a backstop to help them in case of a loss, something goes wrong. But the easier the customer experience, or the easier the customer journey can be to acquiring that insurance and managing it, claiming and being paid, or even avoiding a loss in the first place. Insurers are seeing much more value now in helping their customers avoid losses in the first place, and we're seeing services being provided around that. It is significant. So from a user perspective, insurers really have to be super on the ball around that customer experience, that customer journey, and that's not, it's not limiting it to just a single channel. Consumers like to have multiple channels to interact with their customer and with their insurer, and insurers need to make sure that they can service customers seamlessly across those channels. Basically, as a consumer, I want to be served in my own time, in my own way, and have the choice myself. And insurers need to respect that. And many are fully understand that, and some are very good at already delivering that. But others have still got to work on that. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Looking at every emerging technologies, particularly blockchain. In 2017, Gartner positioned the technology close to the peak of an inflated expectation. So we know what exactly they're trying to mention here, but acknowledging this sort of an excitement for this technology around us, the kind of scenarios that has been built, the risk to adopt it in the wake of such excitement without objectively judging it, the risk is kind of rather high there. And looking at the insurance sector, which is one of the sectors that have started carefully investigating the possibilities of blockchain of it. So where do you see this industry moving in 2020 and beyond, especially in a post-COVID era?
It's a good question, and thank you. Yeah, so one of the good things is that about 80% or so of the global insurers and reinsurers are already using R3's Corda product, our blockchain, enterprise blockchain product. And it's exactly that. It's an enterprise product. It's not an application that is deployed for one particular small use case in, for example, assessing a claim or producing a document. It's an enterprise tool. It's a technology that can span the end-to-end value chain, and therefore it can be much more disruptive to the existing IT infrastructure than one particular small application to help an isolated process step, for example. What's been happening over the last sort of 18 months or so is people have been assessing and adopting the technology. So, as you rightly pointed out, the hype curve, of inflated expectations and buzzwords and lots of discussion and analysis around the potential for the technology is actually been the last sort of 18 months been worked on and actively implemented. And we're now starting to see some of those projects really kick off into live applications and live use. So we're in a phase where we are starting to see things come online now into production, and realizing the benefits that the analysis showed from 3 years ago could be achieved. So the technology is really starting to find its feet in real life use cases in production, and showcase its benefits effectively. And that's only going to improve. So that the people in the industry leading the implementation and leading and driving this are really starting to the trailblazers, so to speak, are forging ahead. And the people that are waiting to, or the companies that are waiting to see where this technology goes, are starting to see then the benefits that can be realized, and will no doubt be getting involved soon, especially when they know that in insurance, at least, R3 Corda is the blockchain of choice across the insurance industry. As I said, we have about 80% of the global insurance and reinsurance players on the technology. So we get lots of inbound inquiries from insurance companies and brokers, quite frankly, around this technology. And yes, it's starting to grow and has huge potential. So.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's quite a good number there, and how things are going for R3 and the entire ecosystem. So, Victor, if I may ask, if you could just broadly, mention, or rather describe the R3 Corda's insurance ecosystem in brief a bit for benefit of our viewers of this session.
Absolutely, yeah. So the ecosystem consists of the underlying hosting partners. So we're talking here about Microsoft's Azure, Amazon, or Google, or others that actually can help customers deploy Corda-based applications on their infrastructure of choice. They can do it on premise, or they can do it with one of the cloud providers. And we have a very strong partnership with many of those to make sure that customers can deploy it at their choosing and have a rapid time to value. Then we've got an ecosystem of system integrators. So we work with literally dozens of system integrators that have Corda skills, Corda resources that can help insurance companies or brokers build and implement, integrate Corda-based applications in their infrastructure, their landscape. And then, of course, we've got what we call the software vendors. Those can be global software vendors, existing ones that we work with, and also then startups at the other end of the scale. And with the large global vendors, we have many contacts with all of the big players, and they can either add blockchain technology, add Corda technology to their existing applications that they already distribute to their customers, or they can create new applications based on Corda enterprise blockchain technology, which they can then sell to their customers or new customers. And then at the other end of the scale, as I mentioned, that we have the startups there, and we do a huge amount in the startup space. We have a venture development team that can help guide and provide advice on how startups can get up and running, and how they can scale their solution, how they can build a business network, how they can get traction. And in fact, we have also an annual InsurTech challenge, which is where we have problem statements set by insurance companies and brokers, and startups pitch to solve those problem statements, and the insurance companies and the brokers can then decide on which ones of the startups that have pitched for that problem statement, that solution, are the right ones, and they can then take those forwards and productionize that particular solution. Last year, we were very successful with running that, and we've actually just launched it now as well for this year. And you can probably see on our website, r3.com, the information around that if you have startups that are listening to this right now and want to pitch for that challenge. So it's a really good challenge, and really thoroughly encourage people to have a look at that. And then the final component from the ecosystem piece, and you mentioned we have well over 300 partners, it's actually well over 350 now, is our consortium building capability and capacity. So you may know that R3 was actually originally a consortium of banks, originally 8, I think, founding banks, and that grew to 42 quite quickly. We're a consortium, by heritage, but we've also played very strong parts in setting up other consortiums in the insurance industry and beyond. So we're very good at pulling relevant parties together, whether that's customers in a sort of friendly, cooperative manner, or it's just parties in the ecosystem that need to come together to provide a solution to a particular problem for a customer. So the ecosystem is probably the biggest out there, to be honest, and growing. So yeah,
it's fantastic. The key word that we're looking at to build a robust ecosystem for this kind of innovation is partnership, isn't it?
Yes.
So that's how we are trying to bring in more of skills, expertise, knowledge together.
That's right. The blockchain technology really is best as a team sport in terms of sharing information in an immutable way across the entire value chain. That said, there are huge applications for it to be used just within one organization. So just take a really large insurer. They have so many business units, so many legal entities, so many ledgers, financial ledgers that need to be, for example, reconciled. So much data that has to be shared amongst themselves, or in some cases, data that can't be shared amongst themselves. For example, an insurance company we're working at the moment has a dozen business units in the UK alone, and they can't share information between themselves because of GDPR compliance challenges. They have to have a firewall between business units. And blockchain technology, and it's the way that it can hash information and then compare hashes in an immutable and a totally private way, can help those dozen business units actually, in the fraud case, compare claims, for example, or compare claimants. So there's huge potential across industry as a team play, but also within a single organization to help them with some of the challenges that they have, whether it's regulatory or technology or whatever. So,
right, like for Coda, as I would understand now, primarily it would help, or rather work towards the scalability, the interoperability, and of course the privacy part. That would be the major things that would be taken care of by this particular platform for any users for insurance. Perfect. So Victor, another thing, to focus on one of the value chain in the insurance process, which is reinsurance. How do you think Coda can best leverage the process for this particular segment?
So, as you probably know, one of the early use cases for this is set up by a consortium of 18 insurers and reinsurers is B3I, of course.
Right.
And their initial use case is on the reinsurance space. So there it's around processing and managing the placement of that reinsurance, sharing the information with all the parties involved in near real time to make sure they all have access to the right information, and on the back of that, then managing all of any claims that might be paid, and of course the technical and financial, technical accounting and cash movement in bank accounts as well. So it can drive a huge amount of efficiencies in reinsurance. it already is driving efficiencies in reinsurance, and has huge potential to drive it further as well. So yeah, reinsurance is sort of the back end of the insurance value chain, but it's one that has a lot of data needed to transfer between parties, and is a very strong use case for the technology, as we've seen with the B3I case that delivered on their reinsurance solution at the beginning of this year, actually. So.
Perfect. Yeah, I think this entire, Corda is, of course, it's the known platform globally now. Whenever we're looking at an application for blockchain and how things would move forward with this. So it's fantastic to know all this, Victor, from your side. And if you have anything to add, please feel free to do so before we conclude our session for today.
Yeah, I would just offer a hand to anybody who's interested to know more about this technology, is to have a look at our website, r3.com, contact myself or anyone else in our organization to find out what use cases that we're already heavily involved in, where the technology is going. If you're interested to know a bit more about our roadmap, if you're interested to be part of our InsurTech challenge, then please do reach out to us. So yes.
Fantastic. Thanks, Victor. So right, as we come to an end of this insightful and exciting discussion, I would like to thank Victor for all your thoughts and opinions on the subject. And I'm sure it will help our viewers to gain a different perspective towards InsurTech and what's next in insurance innovation. It was a true honor and a privilege to have Victor on this show, especially on our first episode where we start the journey on InsurTech. As you all know already, that this particular session is being hosted as part of the InsurTech story. So to know more, you can log on to www.insurtechstory.com, and we look forward to discussing more pressing issues and highlights in the future on the InsurTech domain with Victor Broadman. Victor, once again, a big thank you for your time, for coming on board, and I look forward for more engaging discussion like this. Thank you once again, and have a good day.
Thank you too. Bye for now.